What's your name?
You can call me X.
X.
No slave names here.
No slave names here. Okay, gotcha.
So,
hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into First Reaction TV. My name is J-Mart. So, there's some news coming out of Montana where there has been another state capitol protest. Now, this is the second state capitol protest that has happened, within the last month, I guess, where it has resorted to yelling and screaming in the middle of session, and the state capitol had to go to recess, and they had to stop their proceedings. And I have a couple different videos to play here today. I have a really interesting interaction with a YouTuber named Destiny, who was just on the University of Texas about 6 months ago, and he was interviewing different college students, and the title of his video, or the title of his debate, was "Has Wokeness Gone Too Far?" And it's basically the exact topic of what's going on right now in society. And he would ask these kids, what do you think about wokeness? Has it gone too far? And a lot of it, revolves around the students choosing to shut down conservative voices and conservative speakers. So we're going to play a couple different videos. I'm going to show you footage from the actual state capitol in Montana where the hearing was shut down. And then we're going to go back and forth a little bit on some other things that these college students have to say. And it's some really alarming stuff, like some extremely alarming stuff. So please watch until the end. I appreciate you watching. Make sure you hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, maybe he was. Maybe we were deprived of an excellent lecture where he made that exact point.
Regardless, it's a college campus. Isn't this like where those types of conversations should be happening, with an actual evolutionary biologist rather than like whatever your local conservative group is or your local YouTuber?
now I think there's nothing inherently wrong with canceling people for saying stupid ass shit. You know what I'm saying?
For normal citizens, if somebody's starting to say some weird stuff, I think we should be able to engage them in conversation, try to pull them back from the brink, rather than cutting them off as soon as they're kind of like leaving the mainstream, progressive opinion.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, in my mind, that's where it goes, is all these people want to say hateful stuff.
Sure.
Right? They want to say, like, I don't like black people, I don't like women, and then they kind of, you like to use the term dog whistling, right? But they say it a little more subtly. And then they get canceled and they cry, oh no, I'm not, my free speech is being suppressed. It's like, no, you're just being an asshole.
Who should be canceled for saying, certain things? If you want to go online, you want to say things like, I hate black people and stuff, I think that's totally fair to like, for people to blow back against you. Like, you should. The issue that I have is it starts to get a lot more subtle. Like, you brought up the dog whistling thing. I don't know if we talk about dog whistling as much, but I remember there was a period in time where it was like an online scavenger hunt to try to find anybody that made the OK symbol. And if you found them ever doing it anywhere, it meant they were like a closet secret. And people were trying to find out like any piece of information about them to like shut them down from their jobs, get them kicked out of whatever. And a lot of people were just doing it because of like either dumb meme shit or they just like naturally did it. There was I think a staffer in Congress that people were trying to say was like giving secret Nazi salutes like on camera when she was probably just like making a symbol or whatever.
I don't see a problem with telling those people, yo, shut the fuck up. Like, because you don't have any interest in actually engaging in a debate. What you're interested in is getting those like moderate people that claim they're moderate, who have their minds easily manipulated by contrarian opinions, things like that, and they just want to bring those people further and further to their side. And I don't see a problem with telling those people, yo, get the fuck out of my space. Like, there's no reason to let you say this vitriolic bullshit.
If you think about, like, for example, like BLM more recently, there's a lot of conservatives going on and talking about how there's too much rioting, there's too much blah blah blah. And then, like, I think like the number was like 93% of all the protests were peaceful. It's like, why as progressives, why do we have to like address the worst parts of our movement when we can just push our message?
The issue is when the majority of progressives started to defend the violence. And I think that's when stuff started to get like really wacky, because you started, rather than saying like, yeah, there was some rioting, we don't support that, that's not good, you started getting people saying things like, well, they were rioting against the capitalist establishment that's part of the oppressive system that is keeping minorities down, and that's why we have to burn down like neighborhoods and city blocks. And it's like, well, now we're in a totally different world.
All right, so that's a look into the college student in 2022 and 2023. And like it's alarming. Like it's extremely alarming. Like that, the very last one there, the dude actually said, why should we have to address the worst parts of our movement? Like he actually said that. Yeah, so I mean, like you can just tell there's just zero accountability here, and it gets scary to the point, even from hearing from some of the other people, whenever, they begin rationalizing, shutting people down, canceling people, riots or violence in some cases. So, they have just gotten to the point where the end result will always justify the means according to them. That if it's a cause for them, they don't care what they do and they don't care what the repercussions are. Alright, so now we're going to get into the Montana State Capitol video, and we're going to show what all happened there. We're going to show the outcomes, and we're going to talk about, the mentality that we are seeing across college campuses that are obviously affecting, things in real life now. So let's get into the video and see how it goes.
Clerk will read the title of the bill.
Mr. Chair, Senate Bill number 518, introduced by Manzella, a bill for enacting generally revising laws involving parental rights, providing for parent involvement in education, providing that parents may withdraw their child from certain school instruction, including for religious purposes, requiring school districts to provide information to parents about the educational opportunities available to children of the district, establishing additional parental rights and responsibilities, providing that with certain exemptions, employees of governmental entities are prohibited from withholding certain information from parents, increasing a filing fee, amending section, providing an effective date. Mr. Chair.
Is there discussion on the amendment? Representative Hawk. Is there discussion on the bill? Representative Thane. Representative Howe. Representative Tanner Smith. Representative Nave. Representative Seekins-Crow. Representative Matthews.
I think this bill is a sort of blanket approach that really doesn't work and may, in fact, put kids at harm. Let's be consistent. Let's be clear. And let's do what's best for kids. And that's voting no on this bill.
We're talking about right now what's best for our children, our parents, our communities. And what's best for our children, parents, and communities is to have transparency, is to not just assume that parents are automatically bad, but that they are good, and that our children need to be having transparent conversation with them, that our schools need to be having transparent conversation with them. But this is a good bill because this keeps parents in mind first, and this is what we need. Please vote green.
All right, so far it seems like a pretty normal hearing. You have Republicans being called on, you have Democrats being called on, you have different points of view. You have people for the Parents' Bill of Rights, you have people against the Parents' Bill of Rights. So it seems like a pretty normal hearing. Well, it's not going to be, and things are going to hit the fan pretty quick here. But to find out why and what's actually happening, we have to know a little bit of the backstory to actually understand this fully.
We begin this morning with some controversy at the state capitol. House Republicans are refusing to allow Missoula Democrat Representative Zooey Zephyr to weigh in on bills. GOP leaders say they have concerns about decorum after this heated exchange over Senate Bill 99 on Tuesday.
If you are forcing a trans child to go through puberty when they are trans, that is tantamount to torture. And this body should be ashamed.
I speak on behalf of our caucus. We will not be shamed by anyone in this chamber. We are better than that.
The Montana Free Press reports Zephyr, who is a trans woman, may not be permitted to speak again at all this session. House Speaker Matt McGeer telling reporters he will not recognize her on the floor until she apologizes for her remarks.
So this controversy revolves around Representative Zooey Zephyr, who is a TG representative. And it dates back to about a week prior to this hearing, and she broke decorum. She broke House rules, and the chairman said, hey, until you apologize, you're not allowed to speak anymore. And I have no clue what their rules are. I have no clue if that's allowed to happen, but it sounds like they can do that if you broke these House rules, that you can actually have your powers of speech removed, that if you're refusing to follow House rules and follow decorum in the Capitol, they can prevent you from speaking. Now, we just heard a little bit of what she said there, but she actually said a lot more than that, and some of it was kind of disturbing. So we're going to play the next clip, and this was from the same hearing, and this is all from the same ordeal.
And yes, on these amendments, I hope the next time there's an invocation, when you bow your heads in prayer, you see the blood on your hands.
So all of this was in relation to a bill that the state legislature was passing in relation to gender-affirming care for youth, that it was all 18 and under. They were trying to pass, legislation to prevent puberty blockers and other things, and that's the statement she said. She told everybody in the House that if they passed this, then she hoped that when they closed their eyes in prayer that they saw the blood on their hands. At the same time, look, the chairman is legitimately saying, if you apologize for that, if you apologize, follow the House rules and follow decorum, like, you're allowed to speak and everything will go back to normal. And Zooey Zephyr is refusing to do that. So now we're going to go back to today's hearing, and we are going to get into the fireworks that shut down the House and that shut down the state legislature from getting to the 40 bills that they had on the floor for the day.
I do, Mr. Speaker.
Minority Leader Abbott.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The representative in seat 31 requested to be recognized and wasn't recognized. I'd like to appeal that decision.
Okay. Once again, no representative is above our House rules. Our House rules apply to all 100 representatives. We'll take this to the board. All those in favor of upholding decorum, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. Clerk will record the vote.
Mr. Chair, 63 representatives voted aye, 34 voted no.
Ruling of Speaker has been upheld. Guests will come to order. Our guests will come to order. Our guests will come to order. Sergeant of Arms, will you please clear the gallery? Members, will you please go to the side of the chambers? Members, please go to the side of the chambers.
So the crowd on the balcony was refusing to leave. They had to bring in riot control, and in the middle of the floor, Zooey Zephyr stood with her fist in the air, egging on the crowd and egging on the people that were causing the disturbance. It took almost a full 30 minutes to get the balcony cleared off, and by that time, the House had already dismissed for the day. And throughout this entire time, Zooey Zephyr still stood in the middle of the House floor with her fist in the air, still clamoring to the crowd.
Montana's House Speaker calling this a dark day for Montana after canceling today's floor session, putting on hold nearly 40 bills that were up for debate.
The move comes after a full day of protests and 7 arrests for showing support for Missoula Representative Zooey Zephyr. She's a transgender woman who, of course, has not been allowed to speak by lawmakers. Republicans object to her, saying they should be ashamed and would have blood on their hands over a ban on gender-affirming care for transgender youth.
House Speaker Matt Regier called yesterday's protests, in which hundreds chanted, "Let her speak," a dark day, and criticized the media's coverage.
Currently, all representatives are free to participate in House debates while following the House rules. The choice to not follow House rules is one that Representative Zephyr has made.
Meanwhile, House Minority Leader Kim Abbott said the protest was not violent and disagreed with Republican leaders, including Senator Steve Daines, who called it a riot.
She doesn't believe the rules have been enforced consistently, calling the speaker's actions extreme.
Montanans know what's fair and what's not fair. And what we've seen is, you know, a duly elected public official not being recognized on the floor to engage in free debate that disenfranchises her community, her constituents.
And we've learned late tonight that the House will now consider possible disciplinary action against Zephyr. They say at 1 o'clock tomorrow they'll discuss a motion and whether her conduct during the protest violated the House's rules, collective rights, safety, dignity, integrity, and decorum.
So taking this back the whole way to the start of the video, whenever Destiny was interviewing different students from the University of Texas, and trust me, look, we all know that this just isn't a University of Texas thing. Like, we all know that this is scattered across America right now. But their points of view are, if it's something I want, if I want it my way, if you refuse to do it my way, I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to do everything in my power to cancel you. And look, this is the same thing. I mean, this isn't like the standard definition of cancel culture, but we have had two Democratic based representatives in the Tennessee state legislature, and then the Montana state legislature essentially did the same thing, where they throw a protest in the middle of a normal business day, and it's because they're not in the majority and things aren't going their way. So because things aren't going their way, they're just going to shut down business for everybody. And like, that's where this thought process is right now. They think this is democracy. For the amount of times that we have heard democracy is at stake for the past 3 years now, democracy is at stake, democracy is at stake, democracy is at stake. These people think shutting down your state legislature's office or your state legislature's capital, they think that's democracy. Like, that's what they think it is. When in reality, it's voting, it's having a majority, and if the majority of the vote comes in on one side, that's what a democracy is. Just like, you know, they voted on giving Zooey a chance to speak today. They appealed the chairman's ruling for the breaking of rules for decorum, and they lost it. Like, that is the essential definition of democracy. Even if you don't agree with the chairman's ruling saying that Zooey broke decorum, she shouldn't be allowed to speak, like, even if you don't agree with that, they still took a vote on it. So it wasn't just like one guy. This wasn't a dictatorship. This wasn't authoritarianism. They still voted on this. It was a vote, and they lost. The entire state legislature voted to not appeal it, to keep it as is, and that they were still waiting on an apology from Zooey Zephyr. That is the fundamental definition of democracy. And we have gotten so out of touch with that to where somehow, literally in 2023, democracy literally means it has to be my way, and if it's not democracy. So hey, I appreciate you guys checking out the video, especially if you made it this far. Please like, comment, let me know what you guys thought of the video. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please hit that subscribe button. I appreciate everybody watching. Thanks, guys.
So are you saying it's not socially acceptable to attack people who say things like, I hate women, or I hate...
Well, the thing is, I don't think people usually say, like, I hate women. They'll say things like, I think women are different than men and shouldn't have the same jobs. They'll say stuff like that.
I agree with that, but they say those things with the purpose of kind of subliminally painting those messages of, hey, yeah, men and women are different because men are better than women, or blacks and whites are different because white people are better than black people.
But do you think they're